First of what we hope are many of our series of Women in IT. Today we're going to be lucky enough to hear from some incredible women of Pyramid. The event will consist of 3 individual speakers and be followed by a panel, and then at the end we will have lunch. So I will hand over the mic now to our first speaker, President of Pyramid, Sherry Huang.
Hi. Is it?
It's on. Hold on. Did you share the audio? Yeah. Okay. It's slightly on. You can barely hear, but it is. Try.
I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. Well, I don't think that you have problem hearing me here. Not sure about the conference conference call from other locations. And first of all, I want to thank Natalia and the marketing department to come up with this bright idea. And remember that when you have an idea, we'll make it happen. And so I'm really thankful that this is happening. And this is our first, and hopefully, I don't think that it will be our last. So thank you for coming, and I'm so impressed that we have so many male colleagues join us to hear. Wonderful. So first of all, I guess everybody knows who am I, but who's trying? I hear somebody trying to figure out who am I. After how many years we've been together? Okay, so today I'm going to just share some of my path to become, well, who am I today? And first of all, originated, where I'm coming from. And then next is how do I mature? And then how do I thrive? So this, I don't do it by myself. I thank a lot of people, especially my husband, Jeff, because he has all the patience, and I'm a very short-tempered person, and I want to do things fast, and I don't think much. I just move. But it's very nice to have a partner and a good friend that can think more and trying to avoid a lot of risks ahead of time. But for me, I'm a different personality, so we complement each other very well. So let me go through okay. This is my path. I graduated in Taiwan in 1983. So I came to the United States in 1984 to get my master's degree in Georgia State University. And my undergraduate is international business. So there's nothing related to IT. But I took courses of COBOL, which is a computer language. I don't know how many younger generation here knows about COBOL. I mean younger generation. So when I learned about COBOL, we're using the punch cards to do line-by-line editing for our programming. And that is the opportunity that I learned some computer knowledge. So when I come to the US, I actually apply for accounting major. 3 months later, I say, there's no way I will be able to finish my accounting. And then there's a lot of friends in Georgia State. They are all studying in computer information systems. So I said, what is that? So I have no idea. Then I just say, oh, I want to switch major. I think a lot of us switch majors during the college, but I switched major during the master program. But I'm so glad that I did. And with that, graduated from Georgia State in 1987. However, I'm an immigrant. During that process, I'm an F1 student. After I graduate, I need to get company to sponsor me to stay. So the first thing is you got to find a job. So not knowing a lot of job searching, the language is kind of difficult for me. I don't speak very well, very fluent. So what I did is using the computer skill, land a job in DC. So actually I'll follow Jeff. Jeff came to DC 6 months before I did. So I kind of follow him and got a first job, which is Advanced Technology Systems. And I started with COBOL programming, knowing nothing about American society. So that's how I started it. And during the 12 years at Advanced Technology Systems, I'm very fortunate to have a very good supervisor and a mentor. He helped me and provided me the opportunity. Even though I don't speak well, and I think I write okay, but speaking communication is usually my weakness point. But I provided all the knowledge that I have and do more, spend more time to help customers. And when I communicated with customers, I always put myself into their shoes and try to figure it out. How do I solve the problem for them? And for that 12 years period, I started from a COBOL programmer, become a task leader, become a deputy project manager, and become a manager. So throughout those 12 years, my mentor and my supervisor gave me the opportunity. When he promoted himself, when he got promoted, he always looking at me and asking me, well, do you want to take the challenge? At that time, I already have 2 kids at home. And Jeff, both of us, we are all working. So sometimes I hesitate. But sometimes Jeff said, hey, why not? And we can work out. So when the opportunity comes, I always say yes. I know that I need to sacrifice some of my children's time that I will have with them, but it's an opportunity. And I want to also tell you, before I come to the U.S., why I need to come to the U.S., because my father is a World War II veteran. And he always think that there will be another war between Taiwan and China. So what he said to me when I was in college, you have to go to U.S. Bring your 2 brothers with you. At the time, there is no internet. The only thing is TV and newspaper. So the information is very limited. And what we know, a lot of people talk about U.S., there is gold everywhere. There's gold everywhere. You should go there when you have the opportunity, when you can go there, because you will be better, have a better life. When I got here, culture shock. Totally culture shock. Where's the gold? But what is the goal? Opportunity. There are so many opportunities in the U.S. And how do you capture it? Right? Think about that. So I think at the end, I understand what is the goal mean? It's the opportunity. And how do you want yourself to capture those opportunities and prepare when the opportunity is coming? So I think we all do, both Jeff and I can probably do the right thing. We work hard and getting to where we are. So that is from the 97 to 1999. After 12 years at ITS, there are opportunities that Jeff has been persuading me to work on the company, because he started the company in 1995 as an independent consultant. So he knows about SBA AA programs, and for me, I was hesitated because my kids are in 7th and 9th was 7 years old and 9 years old. As a mother, you usually think about what will be the sacrifice. If I do this, my personality is I will be jumping in. I will be dive in and do it. But with Jeff's help, we kind of say, okay, let's go. And he see the opportunity. When I wasn't, doing well, not being appreciated more in ATS, so I take on the challenge and apply for AA program. And with that, then we started our own company. But there is a sacrifice. So the rest of it, I think everybody read about the history of pyramid. So I'm not going to go into detail. For your career, you should look at you are running a business. Your career is your business. That's, for me, I will feel that way. Because you need to know yourself. How much risk that you can take. To me, sometimes I'm not a risk taker. Jeff is more like a risk taker for the family. I'm more kind of, give me a job, I'll do it. But the opportunity come, you have to think differently. So know yourself can prepare you more, okay? And then select the right career. Like I said, I started as an international business, then accounting, not working out. CIS, possibly, but it's because CIS is information related, not the engineering, like computer science. That one will be over my head. I will be failing on that. So with this, I think a right career, choose the right career. Find a good mentor. And I'm so lucky to have Leon Perry as my supervisor when I first started. He gave me the opportunity. He hired me as a COBOL programmer in 1987. And I started from there. We still be in contact. And I always appreciate the opportunity that he gave me. And then when he think I'm ready for the next job or next position, he also consult me and then work with me and tell me what to do. So your mentor is very important. And then always challenge yourself, risk, take risk, even tiny risk. Don't be too comfortable with what you have. If you don't move or look forward, you will never step out of your comfort zone. And if you don't step out of your comfort zone, you will be in the circle. That you put a circle around yourself that you cannot thrive. So, exit plan. As a woman, sometimes the exit plan is, I will stay home, right? But is that really good? Not necessary. Because for me, I feel like when I'm working, I can provide my family an even better life. And you learn how to communicate with the other important half. Marriage and working relationship together is not an easy task. You have to commit, and you have to know how to complement each other. Sometimes, working together as a working family, and then you have a household to run. It's difficult. Be patient to your partner. Both way, okay? So I know that there is a lot of young generation here that is not married yet, but girlfriend is very important too. No matter what, it's together, okay? So, but I don't encourage you to have exit plan, but this exit plan is more like if this career that you choose and you are on, you are not happy, what is your exit plan? Continue to educate yourself. Find a career that you really think that it will help you and you are happy with it. If you have a family, changing a career path is not easy. Talking to your partners, talking to your spouse, and then help each other out. once everything done, help the others in the community. Spread your love. Okay? Next, I'm gonna have Cameron, who is our senior HR generalist, to share her experience.
Thank you so much, and I absolutely loved everything that Sherry said, so thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I feel a lot of the things that I'm going to say, and I think looking at Mary's slides, we didn't really coordinate, but I think you're hopefully going to hear a lot of the same things from the three of us, even though we've all taken very different paths in our career. My first thing that I put, these are my thought nuggets. I was trying to think of something clever. Where you are now will not determine where you're going to be, just for those, especially those young people out there. So I have some notes here, and my first thing is I've worked in retail, theater production, real estate, logistics, customer service, event planning, and IT. So over my career of 20 years, how many jobs I've had, which have all really influenced where I am today. Learn something new every day. Every single job you have is a learning experience. That is 100% my belief. And every day I believe that you do learn something new that you can take with you in your personal life or especially in your career. So I started out my career after graduating with a theater degree from Santa Clara University. So I do not have an IT background at all. I was a stage management influence at Santa Clara. If any of you know anything about theater, the stage manager is basically the project manager of the production. So they manage everyone else and they tell everybody what to do and where to go and when to be, and they make sure that everything is getting done on time. So it's basically the project manager. But I was like, I know I really want to be in theater, but I got to make some money. I got to pay the bills. The Bay Area is not cheap. So I started interviewing right away, like about 2 months before I was ready to graduate. And all these people are like, well, when can you start? I'm like, 2 more months? You give me 2 more months? They're like, no, I need somebody right now. So I finally ended up getting a job that was a connection from a family member. I was working as an administrative assistant for a real estate company. It was great. I was able to do theater in my part-time. But the company decided to move, so I was like, I'm not going to commute. I'm not going to make the commute. I need to find a new job. I ended up going to a networking company, a boutique networking company in Silicon Valley. They built routers and switches, and I worked in the customer service department. So anytime somebody didn't get their switch on time, they called us angry, and we had to solve the problem. And I started out as a contractor. I was doing data analysis and very entry level. And about 7 months into my contracting there, the person who was my direct supervisor ended up moving to a different department. So I was like, I like this company. I'm learning a lot. I'm doing really different things than I ever thought I would do. I'm still able to do theater in my part-time. I'm still stage managing and working around the Bay Area. But you know what? She's making more money than me, and she's a higher level position. I'm going to ask her boss if I can take her position. So I did. I just walked up to the supervisor and I said, I'm really interested in taking this position. Is it available? And she swept me into the conference room and she goes, I think you'd be great. So it worked out. It worked out great. At first, it was wonderful. Then the working relationship with that supervisor was not ideal. And all of you are probably going to have a situation in your career where you're going to be working with somebody who you don't really get along with. There's a personality conflict. This particular manager took the idea of my way or the highway. You got to make me look good, do everything to make me look good. It was all about her. It wasn't about the team collaborative environment. And I learned that. I learned that that's not the way that I want to work. And I learned a lot of other great things in that job. I learned how to deal with difficult people. I learned how to help a customer, how to make a customer feel that their needs have been taken care of, and to say, hey, you know what, you did a really good job for me. There were many instances where I had people want to tell my manager that I did a great job because I was helping them out. I learned how to challenge vendors who were saying, well, we can't do that. Well, why not? Why can't you do it? We're not really asking for the sun, the moon, and the stars. You need to help us figure out how to make this work. Let's work together. And I was able to stay at that job for a decent amount of time, but you know what? I wasn't happy. It was a paycheck. I was still doing theater my part-time. I worked for about 6 years for a small theater company. I wasn't getting paid, but I got to do theater, and I felt like I was, making money and doing my passion at the same time. And then, out of the blue, I got laid off. Totally surprised. I had survived 3 other rounds of layoffs. I got pulled into the office in the morning. You have an hour to pack up your stuff. Bye. So, and I had to be escorted around the building before I left. And I was in complete shock. I was like, what am I going to do? I need an income. And my husband at the time was working, still my husband, at the time, my husband. Phrasing. The English language is a marvelous thing. So my husband was working for a theater company. He and I went to school for theater. He was doing his passion. He was doing it. So they had an opening at their company that was an event planner, and I was like, that sounds so fun, so I'll interview here. And then another friend who I had worked with at the same company I had just gotten laid off from, he was working in tech still. He had an opening for a logistics manager, a project person, and so he wanted me to interview. So I went on both interviews. And I will just say, for those of you who aren't happy and you're looking to interview, go on as many interviews as possible. It is a great learning experience. Plus, you get an hour to just talk about yourself. I mean, how awesome is that? I love interviewing because I love talking about myself, but I don't know what that says about me. And I actually got both offers. I was offered a position in a tech company, making 6-figure salary, continuing in the tech industry, and I got an offer at a theater company, making half of what I was currently making at my job I just got laid off from. But it was a chance for me to take my passion project. And, my husband and I, as Sherry said, it was a joint decision. We talked about it. And he actually was the one who convinced me to take the theater job. He was like, this is where you're going to be the most happy. And I was. I really loved that job. I learned so much there. I learned how to collaborate, because theater is incredibly collaborative. I got to work with multiple different departments. It was me as the events coordinator for the development team. We were the fundraisers. We were working with the production teams. We were working with the artistic teams. I got to meet some amazing people, some of who are on Broadway now, who have been in movies and theater. It was a great experience. And I really take that time to have my passion project. I felt that was very important for me. I probably should have done it right out of college, but I was able and fortunate and lucky enough to be able to at least have that at one point in my career. And then we had a baby. My husband, who is still in theater, got an amazing job offer to move to Virginia for, again, his passion. He got to come out here. It was a conversation. We had just had an infant, and we're like, we're going to move. I had never been to DC before we moved out here. So we moved, and I decided to take a year off. I had a baby. We had just relocated to a brand new area. I wanted to get to know the area. And then, as Sherry was talking about too, being a stay-at-home parent is a wonderfully hard job for people. It is not my passion, and it is not where I feel best served. So is that diplomatic enough? I know many stay-at-home parents, and they are wonderful. It is a hard job. And I needed to not do that anymore. So I started sending out my resume. My husband and I agreed it was time for me to go back to work. We found daycare. I just started shooting my resume out like nobody's business. I was like throwing softballs out there to the wind, which I don't recommend. Do your research. Know what you're really looking for. Know where you want to be. Know what type of company you want to work for, what type of culture. I say to Jim, my husband, all the time, I lucked out landing here. If I had landed anywhere else, I don't think I would be where I am today. I landed in an environment that is so supportive and collaborative and encouraging, and that is not always the case. And I'm not gonna lie, when I got the interview, I was like, pyramid, what job was that? I don't remember. Okay, sure. And so I came on as the receptionist, and I immediately, from the ground running, just started doing things. I came in and said, oh, I don't like the way this is done, I'm gonna change it. Oh, you guys need to clean this out. This needs to be fixed. I found $400 in cash in the break closet over there from the vending machine. I did not take it. I deposited it and bought vending machine supplies. But I I was, and I feel weird, I feel like this is kind of braggy, but like I took initiative. I did things, and I was able, because of the work I had done with the theater company, I was able to come in and say, I know I can help out in multiple different areas. You need help, let me help you. You need help, let me help you. And I think that just kind of helped me set my pace here. After that, when we won Jets, they came to me and they said, hey, we need a project administrator. You have 15 years of experience. Let's do. I was like, sure, that sounds great. I want a new challenge. I constantly want to be challenged in my work. And I feel that if you're bored, if you're complacent, you're not going to be happy. I did the complacency thing for 6 years at a company where I didn't have a good boss, I didn't have a good environment, and it sucked. So you need to take an active role. You need to be somebody who's going to push and try and strive for those things that you want. So I joined the Jets team. I had a great relationship with Jan. I had a great relationship with her project managers. I learned so much about client relations, about being in the government space. Never worked for the government before. And then when our HR generalist left, I wanted a new challenge. And I have to say, at 36 years old, I think I've finally decided what I want to be when I grow up. And I credit that to Selena for teaching me so much about being in HR and helping people. And it really does come back to being with people, which I've done my entire career. I've had people interactions. I've had positive people interactions. And I credit Jeff and Sherry for creating an environment where I'm able to do that. But I also initiated it. When our HR generalist left, I walked up to Jan and I said, you know, Jan, I really like working with you, but I really need something new. Are you okay if I ask Selena if I can join this department? And she said, yeah, go talk to her. And I talked to her and I said, Selena, I want to be on your team. So I made the initiative. I made the choice. I was active. I was engaged in what I was doing because I had learned not being so does not get you anywhere. So really, you need to make those active choices. You need to decide what you want. You need to find your passion. You need to, which I feel I have. I love HR. I love working here. I love working with y'all. I say y'all now. I don't know where that came from. I'm sorry, I've probably taken up way too much time, but I just want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to do this, and I am happy to pass it on to Mary Pinnell, our project manager for the Jets.
It's interesting, like Cameron said, a lot of the themes are the same across all three of our stories, even though they're quite different. I'm going to start mine a little bit earlier, and before I started in IT, I started working when I was pretty young. My parents opened a restaurant right after I had finished 8th grade, and so that summer, I was working all summer. Started as a dishwasher. After a couple of weeks, I think my mom felt a little bad for me, so she let me wait on a table. I didn't completely mess it up, so I continued waiting tables all summer and all through high school, really, summers and weekends. And I learned quite a bit doing that. How to work with different people, understanding that the people you're working with, they really depend on you. Being 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning is restaurant's not really where you want to be when you're a teenager, but knowing that the other people needed you there to work with them. Then after high school, I went on to I moved to this area. I went to George Mason. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Finally declared my major in psychology. Because there was a lot of options there. I thought it was interesting just learning how the mind worked. I really liked doing research, and had a lot of odds and ends of jobs through high school or through college. I actually was a telemarketer for quite a while, managed the telemarketing department. Didn't really like to tell people at the time that I did that just because most people don't like telemarketers, but it was actually kind of fun. Seeing how long I could keep people on the phone and talking. And I learned to manage people. It was all college students working there because it was evenings and weekends. So I worked with doing hiring and managing and doing the scheduling and everything. And but at the same time, I did some research. I was working with the psychology department doing research, looking at automation in airplanes. It was before 9/11, so we were looking at how the pilots used the automation, versus doing the manual controls. And we had a grant with Air Canada, and I was able to fly in the airplanes, the Airbus 320s. They they have the pilot and co-pilot. There's a little jump seat right behind it. So I got to sit there and fly up to Toronto and around and just watch and observe how that they were doing the automation there. And then, so after I graduated college, I was doing research for a company. It was with a small group within DHS, and it was a internship, but full-time. And my manager at the time came to me and asked me if I wanted to take on a development job. I had minored in computer science when I was in college, just because I thought it was interesting, it was fun. So I kind of laughed because I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to do it. I didn't really plan on being a developer, but I said, sure, I could try it. He, reassured me it's fine, you'll learn on the job. Try it out. If it doesn't work out, you can find something else. So I took the job, jumped in, did a lot of learning. I had taken classes in programming and knew object-oriented programming, but just learning on the job. I had a lot of people around me to support. They were willing to answer questions, help me, direct me and get in the right path. My manager was a DBA as well, so I learned a ton about databases. And they gave me the option just to do the full stack, work on everything. That first year I probably learned more about IT than I have at any point in my career, just because there was so much to learn. So I continued on as a developer, eventually became a technical lead on CPMS project. I joined CPMS right at the beginning. I was working on another project, and Jan came to me and asked if I wanted to join the CPMS project. I had helped with the transition a little bit before that, but had gone back to my prior project. So I was excited to do it at the time. The project I was working on, I wasn't doing a lot. I was feeling a little bit stagnant, not newer technologies, not really what I had signed up for. So I was excited to join this new project. And so worked with Jan and the team and continued on developing there. I had 2 kids during that time, and it was critical having leadership, management, and my peers that were really supportive. Taking time off, as Cameron mentioned, I was not a stay-at-home mom, but just the 3 months staying home on maternity leave, I knew I was ready to come back to work. But I did, it's challenging just balancing that, working full-time and having an infant at home. I learned how to work on very little sleep, especially for my second child. But fortunately, they're both sleeping now. But just balancing that, and as was mentioned earlier, having that support, whether in the office, having management and colleagues that you can turn to that support you with your career and what you're working on, it's really important. And at home, my husband is also in IT. We've both had different times in our careers where we had to focus more on our career and spend more time working there, whether it's a new role that we're learning or just more demands from that position. And so we, alternate where we have to, spend more time focusing on the kids and the family and those things. And it's just important, whether it's, a spouse or a friend or another family member, that you have those people to depend on and to support you. And, just no matter what role I've been in, whether it's, a manager now, I'm managing the CPMS team, come here to Pyramid as a technical lead, then moved into a project management position since we needed another project manager on CPMS. I had done my PMP the year before, just at my manager's encouragement to kind of do that. I had it in my back pocket. I wasn't sure if I would use it, but I moved into the position and found I really enjoyed it. It's fun. I was able to, then lead another team as we got more work on CPMS. So it's exciting to see, the project grow and to be a part of that and to work on all the different pieces of CPMS and the project. But whatever role I've been in, whether it's a developer, project manager, or waiting tables, there's always new things to learn, and I think that's what's most important, that you're just always learning new things. If you're not, maybe it's time for a new role, maybe there's things you can learn within that project. I don't think I've ever been in a role where there just wasn't anything that I could be learning, and some of that may be technical skills or just other things of working on leadership skills or working with different people, and I just think it's important that you have those people around you to work with that are supporting you. I love working with so many different people, so many different skill sets, everyone, the talents that people bring, and we all work together just to reach a common goal and complete whatever we're working on. And let's see, priorities as well. I'm someone who likes to plan. Usually, out the next few months, I want to know what's going on. Longer term than that, maybe not so much, but as we are all busy day to day answering emails or priorities that come up, they always seem, those are the most urgent just because they're coming in constantly. But it's just important that we step back, take a look. What are our priorities? What are the goals that we're trying to get to, and make sure that things that we're working on in our day-to-day tasks are working towards those goals and towards those priorities. And they change over time. My priorities now as a project manager with 2 kids, in elementary school, those are a little bit different than they were when I first started out as a developer, where I had a ton of, to learn there in that field. But I'm just so grateful that I'm here at Pyramid, working with all these talented people, that a company that really cares about the employees, and that we have so many women in leadership. It's really great to see. All right, thank you.
Thank you to Sherry, Cameron, and Mary for sharing their wonderful stories. We're going to move on to the panel portion of our discussion, and it's going to be moderated by our CTO, Rajiv Karayam.
It's truly inspiring to hear the stories of Sherry, Cameron, and Mary. And Sherry, I don't know why you think your communication skills are weak. You were so eloquent and articulate. There's so many.
1987.
I think marketing is thinking about possibly bottling that up into a nice YouTube promotional video, because that deserves to be heard. That deserves to be heard. But so it's a great honor and privilege to be here moderating this panel of emerging and growing leaders of our organization. Maybe we can quickly get started with an introduction.
I am Selena Mims. I'm the HR director.
Hi everyone, I am Anna Sinha. I am Director of Contracts.
And I am Lisa Gardner, Vice President of Business Development.
So I've been told that I can't hog the mic and ask all the questions. So you'll get opportunities to ask the questions as well. And but I'm going to start off with our first question to the panel. How did you break into the leadership role, and tell us a little bit about that experience?
Okay, I guess I'll take this and pass it down. Okay, so great. I attended Bowie State University, which is at HBCU in Prince George's County, Maryland, and my major was communications. I originally started out in broadcast technology and migrated over more so toward strictly communications. And during college, I kept getting temporary assignments in HR. And so I said, hey, there's something here. And I continued to learn about it and figured out that there were a lot of different areas within HR, and it was pretty diverse, and there was some opportunity there. So I decided at that point, while I was still in college, that I wanted to pursue a career in HR. And then from there, I kept getting HR positions and eventually migrated into management roles, and then eventually into director level roles. So now I am here at Pyramid, and I have to say, this is my most favorite job ever. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in HR, but I really do love the company and excited about all the programs we have that we're working on for the staff.
My path's a little different than everybody else's. I'm from a different generation, from a lot of the younger people, so I had an opportunity to get into contracts just by happenstance, and that was in 1999. And I don't know if you guys remember the Y2K.
Yes.
The world was going to end, and so they needed somebody in contracts, I guess, to do the paperwork. And so I started working in contracts. I worked in DC for a while for the office of the Chief Technology Officer, and during that time, and I progressed. I worked for a lot of large government contractors, AT&T Government Solutions, Mantech, SEIC, all the big ones. And then I had an opportunity to come to Pyramid, And it was from somebody I had worked with in the past, and I was like, I just don't want to work for a small company. I had done it before. I just didn't think that it was something that I was going to be interested in. And apparently when I said yes to the interview, he said, I got you hook, line, and sinker. And I was like, no, you don't. But sure enough, I've been here for 3.5 years, and there seems to be a common thread among all of us. We do really enjoy working here. The environment is one that I've never really experienced before, so it gives you a chance to really collaborate and work with people. And I have to give not only to Jeff and Sherry, but I have to give a lot of credit to my manager, Chuck, who is a great mentor to me. I do learn something different every day, and you never stop learning, even though it's the challenges always come from all over the place for contracts. We do a lot of paperwork too, so it's not just boring stuff. We do a lot of other things. One of the things I wanted to also say is that the common theme that I heard from a lot of the women that were talking was that family was really important to them, and the balance, and that's one of the things that I'd like our male counterparts. I know it's a little bit different now in this generation, but you know, it's something that women struggle with, and to have a career, and to have a family, and to have children, and to balance it all. You know, a lot of credit goes to women who have done that and have succeeded in that, and have a partner that they can really rely on is really important. So I enjoy working here with everyone, so thank you.
So one of the things that popped up in our preparation for this conversation was a surprise to the other women that were helping plan the panel, and that is, even though my role is Vice President of Business Development, my entire career by education and all the roles that I had was and is in IT. I have an undergraduate in information systems, a graduate degree in the management of IT. And so a backdrop in IT over the course of time has sort of led me into this different kind of role. And I would really highlight one specific pivot point in my career that was about 10 years ago, where I was asked to join a team, and they interviewed me for a sort of work stream program manager position on a large effort. And at that time, I had been doing a lot of project management oriented work in IT. I knew that this project that they wanted me to work on was to help veterans interface with the VA by phone, by portal, by the voice response systems with telephony, and I was like, okay, I can jump into that. So I showed up on my first day. The overarching program manager hugged me and said, "Thank God you're here. Here's your team. You're responsible for 40 people." I had managed probably only about up to 10 by that point. The work stream was technical integration, which my background was in COTS package configuration and customization. I'd done some coding by way of that, but I was working with data architects and enterprise architects, and that was my whole team. And my customer was the smartest woman I had ever met and was deeply technical. And I went, oh my goodness, how is this all going to work out? But it was probably the first time that I realized that while you're in IT and you're doing a job, it's probably, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You need to understand the big picture. You need to understand how the pieces fit together and perform your role in orchestrating how to put those puzzle pieces together. And in that position, I worked hard, had a great relationship with the customer, collaborated with everybody around me, and by virtue of the growth of the company, new opportunities presented themselves. In terms of breaking through into leadership roles, I was doing my job and doing what was asked of me, and a new leader came into the organization, called me into his office and said, "Are you interested in taking a director level position over a bunch of projects that I hadn't touched before?" And people take note of you wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And keeping that in the back of your mind, always showing up 100%, 110% in what you're doing can lead to opportunities that you don't know are coming. So I would say just that one work experience kind of set the path for everything that happened after and how I ended up getting here today.
Awesome.
So I'd like to open up questions to the group here. So if you have any questions, you can just raise your hands. I'll pass on the mic.
I guess this is for everyone. Do you regret anything in your career? Did you not take an opportunity that you now regret? Or did you, did you just regret anything throughout your career?
Okay, I always knew that I wanted to do HR from the very onset of my career. I think it's a good field for me. But I often wondered if I should have went down the government path, because human resources in the federal arena is different. There's a whole different other body of knowledge, different laws you have to learn. And I often would think, like, in the midpoint of my career, should I have, maybe gone into OPM and, started there? It's better to get in when you're starting out. So I kind of feel like, well, this is my path. That's not the way I went. I'm just gonna push forward and do well in this arena on the private sector side, working on the federal contracting arena. And I've always worked for federal contractors who were in IT, by the way. So that's something I often think about and wonder, should I have maybe tried?
I don't have any regrets. Because I wouldn't be here. Every step that I made, I might have made some, I didn't like some of my supervisors. They were very challenging. I told this to Chuck one time. Usually it's about a year and a half, things are going really well. Then something happens in your career. Your manager changes, or there's a reorg. There was 9 when I was at Mantech. And so the fact that for 3.5 years things have been going so well for me, I think I'm charmed. I don't know, something bad may happen. But yeah, I don't have any regrets, because I think every step that I made got me to this position here, and so I don't have any.
Oh, I want to respond to that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Said it was okay.
So I just wanted to respond, because I think I kind of mentioned it in my speech, but I regret sitting in a job I didn't like for 6 years. Because it sucks. It really sucks. Like, it's draining on your emotional state, it's draining on your physical state, it's draining on your relationships. And while I was getting paid well, my knowledge wasn't really expanding. My day-to-day, I was like, God, I have to go to work today. Oh my God, every day. And that is not fun. Like, today I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff I get to do today, and I'm super excited about it. But not then. So I would just say, don't do that to yourself. Don't put yourself in that position. Make sure that you're doing what you want. You're excited to go to work in the morning.
That's true.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was a great question. Any other questions?
So how do you manage work-life balance and the challenges that come along with being a working woman in a leadership position and having a family?
My kids grew up, so thank God. I don't have any kids at home, but I do have a needy husband. I'm just kidding. I do have one more kid at home. If my kids were younger, I think there would be more of a struggle. So it's probably for people who have children at home. So yeah, you probably.
Just for context, I have an 11-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son, and I am married with a very supportive and collaborative husband. I think that managing the household, to Sherry's point, is project management in and of itself. Sunday is a conversation about what's happening, this week, where do we need to be, just having some sort of concurrence about who's doing what, and understanding, where there are absolute mandatory needs to be working longer hours or to be away from the home, and vetting that all in advance. And having a plan. It really is about having a plan. It's an exercise in project management, and the understanding of what the job is, wherever you are, and having that conversation. My husband has been watching me do proposals for 10 to 15 years now. He knows, when I say there's a proposal and there's a red team or there's this or that he knows what that means. And so communication and planning are really at the crux of things. And I will say, I don't think my kids are losing anything by my having a challenging job and being away. I include them in the sense of telling them about my job. The same communication happens there. I think it's important for both my son and my daughter to understand what I do, why I do it. And my daughter, especially at age 11, asks a lot of questions. What did you do today? Who did you talk to? How is your customer? How's the proposal going? And the inquisitiveness is really interesting. And she's, it's great when you have Bluetooth in a car, because I can't count the number of times that she's been in the back seat while I've been on a phone call with my capture manager or my boss or whatever. And she's heard it all. And maybe that's not appropriate. She's probably heard some things she shouldn't have heard. But giving the kids the context as well makes everything go a lot better. And I'm hoping, or putting both children, on a path to wherever it may lead them for their own futures.
Good. Very interesting. I'm going to get some tips on any more questions? Natalia? Thank you.
I just want to ask, what's next for you guys? What's the next phase of your career look like? If I can take this.
That's a good question. And, I'm very happy where I am right now, but I think at this point in my career, it is about continuing to push myself. And I often find that I'm extremely busy on the job. Prioritization is key, but then I have to set personal goals. And also, so not only, getting outside of Pyramid, functioning more within the HR industry, networking, volunteering, and then mentoring, giving back to someone else who's coming up. That's where I am right now in my career. As well as trying to push myself to continue to grow in my career. That's what I'm looking to do in ways I'm trying to improve as I move forward. Sorry. Cameron. Sorry. I'm sorry.
To Selena's point, I think you kind of you think that when you get to this position where you're a director level, and I'm not there yet, but you're like, okay, I made it, I'm done. But no, there's always, especially in the technology field, there's always new technologies. I was watching John Oliver the other night, and there was this woman on there who was talking about how now, because of technology changing, you can't ask your kids what do they want to be when they grow up. You have to ask, what 5 things do you want to be when you grow up? Because there's so many new things out there, and the careers that are going to be available for our kids are going to be totally different than what we're doing now. So, and even in HR, there's new things coming along the pike all the time. There's new laws, there's new things for us to keep abreast of, and so you constantly have to keep challenging yourself and learning. You can't just sit and think that you're done.
That's true. So the sky is no longer the limit, right? So we've passed the solar system now, so there's no limit. Any other questions? We have a few more minutes left. Monica said.
What part of your career journey would you say you're most proud of?
He said, what are we most?
What part of your career journey were you most proud of?
For me, I think it was making the risk in changing my career to being into contracts. I had jobs before, and I think that kind of distinguishes us between having a job and having a career. Most of us here have careers because we're in these fields that are so important to the overall mission, and I think that's important. So for me, it was making that choice to get into contracts, and it was not a path that I chose. It just happened to come across, and I made that leap of faith, and it turned out for me. So that was for me.
Just to bring my path full circle, if to give it context for being VP of Business Development now, when you join a contracting company to perform an IT role on a project, you might not, you're probably realizing now and listening to us in some of the other sessions that we had that you might get pulled into a proposal. You might get pulled in to provide some management, or Pivot Point was the first time the company I was working for asked me to lead a proposal. Here's something the government is looking for. Build our story. Tell them how we're going to get it done. And it was for a business case analysis, BPA. and they put it on my plate, and it was probably the first one I had done, soup to nuts. We won. It was great. I happened to go on maternity leave shortly thereafter, so I got to hand off the award to somebody else to lead. But really, that would probably serve as a very important accomplishment as I transition to being less of an executor on the ground doing IT contract work to being more focused on the growth trajectories of the companies that I was supporting.
It's too bad that we have only 1 hour. We can hear these stories for quite some time. There's so many nuggets of learning and information that's so valuable. I think there was one other question on this side, maybe. No more questions?
No.
Jeff?
I really appreciate everyone. I think a common theme was learning. Stay learning all the time. What is a quote, a word of wisdom, or a book that really helped you to learn? Helped you?
I can't talk about that.
Oh, that's a good one. You have one?
Yeah, good question.
So I think I mentioned this at the All Hands, but the Start With Why book that I mentioned at the All Hands, maybe not a learning book per se, but a thinking book to guide in life and your career. It just makes you think about things a little bit of a different way. And also getting back to the prioritization topic that Mary mentioned, there's a book called The One Thing, and honestly, I need to reread it. It's time for me to reread it because it really challenges you to think about what you're charged to do, where you're trying to go, and focusing your time accordingly. And again, that gets back to work-life balance and everything else. So maybe not from like an IT perspective or a project management perspective, but I read books to learn things from a life perspective. And that book, The One Thing, there's no rocket science in it, but having somebody like spell it out and you're like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. And I really need, it's one of those things you go back to when you're feeling, maybe yourself feeling unbalanced in work, home, or all of the above. Just to calibrate your time and to help you take charge of your life. So again, my reading is focused in a specific area for learning purposes, probably because I'm still trying to crack the nut. Work-life balance is maybe somewhat of a myth, and it varies over time, right? It's a pendulum more than a complete circle. So there's just a couple books that I have really enjoyed as of the last couple of years.
Well, I want to thank our panel. This was such an exciting and inspiring discussion. Please, let's give them a round of applause.